Joe Biden and Sarah Palin have put in some very long days preparing for tomorrow night's debate. But tonight, to give you a better sense of who they are and their views on a number of issues, we're beginning a new series, Vice Presidential Questions. And we begin with an issue that has divided this nation for decades. Why do you think Roe v. Wade was a good decision?
Because I think it's as close to a consensus that can exist in a society as heterogeneous as ours. What does it say? It says in the first 3 months, that decision should be left to the woman. Then the second 3 months, where Roe v. Wade says, well, then the state, the government has a role, along with the woman's health. They have a right to have some impact on that. And the third 3 months, they say the weight of the government's input is on the fetus being carried. And so that sort of has reflected about as close as I think anyone's ever going to get in this heterogeneous, this multicultural society of religious people, as to some sort of, not consensus, but as close as it gets. I think the Liberty Clause of the 14th Amendment offers a right to privacy. Now, that's one of the big debates I have with my conservative scholar friends, that they say, you know, unless a right is enumerated, unless it uses the word privacy in the Constitution, then no such constitutional right exists. Well, I think people have an inherent right.
Are there Supreme Court decisions you disagree with?
You know, I'm the guy that wrote the Violence Against Women Act. And I said that every woman in America, if they are beaten and abused by a man, should be able to take that person to court, and meaning you should be able to go to federal court and sue in federal court the man who abused you, if you can prove that abuse. But they said no, that a woman, there was no federal jurisdiction. And they acknowledged I held about 1,000 hours of hearings proving that there's an effect on interstate commerce. Women who are abused and beaten are women who are not able to be in the workforce. And the Supreme Court said, well, there is an impact on commerce, but this is federalizing a private crime, and we're not going to allow that. I think the Supreme Court was wrong about that decision.
Why, in your view, is Roe v. Wade a bad decision?
I think it should be a state's issue, not federal government mandating yes or no on such an important issue. I'm, in that sense, a federalist, where I believe that states should have more say in the laws of their lands in individual areas. Now, foundationally also, though, it's no secret that I'm pro-life, that I believe that a culture of life is very important for this country, and personally that's what I would like to see further embraced by America.
Do you think there's an inherent right to privacy in the Constitution?
I do. Yeah,
That's
I do.
The cornerstone of Roe versus Wade.
I do, and I believe that individual states can best handle what the people within the different constituencies in the 50 states would like to see their will ushered in an issue like that.
What other Supreme Court decisions do you disagree with?
Well, let's see. There's, of course, in the great history of America, there have been rulings that there's never going to be absolute consensus by every American, and there are those issues, again, like Roe v. Wade, where I believe are best held on a state level and addressed there. So, you know, going through the history of America, there would be others, but...
Can you think of any?
Well, I would think of any, again, that could best be dealt with on a more local level. Maybe I would take issue with, but, you know, as a mayor and then as a governor and even as a vice president, if I'm so privileged to serve, wouldn't be in a position of changing those things, but in supporting the law of the land as it reads today.
Thomas Jefferson wrote about the First Amendment, building a wall of separation between church and state. Why do you think that's so important?
His intention in expressing that was so that government did not mandate a religion on the people. And Thomas Jefferson also said, never underestimate the wisdom of the people. And the wisdom of the people, I think, in this issue is that people have the right and the ability and the desire to express their own religious views, be it on a very personal level, which is where I choose to express my faith, or in a more public forum, and the wisdom of the people, thankfully ingrained in the foundation of our country, is so extremely important, and Thomas Jefferson wanted to protect that.
The best way to look at it is look at every state where that wall is not built. Look at every country in the world where religion is able to impact on the governance. Almost every one of those countries, there's real turmoil. Look, the founders were pretty smart. They had gone through, several hundred years of wars, religious wars. They were in the midst of religious wars in Europe, and they figured it out. The best way to do this is keep the government out of religion. They took religion out of government, but they didn't mean religion couldn't be in the public place, in the public square.
Tomorrow, I'll ask the candidates the best thing and worst thing Dick Cheney has done as vice president.